I wanted to share a new version of my exit ticket formative assessments. I had recently pushed something out in which the tests that we were using for the students to take were um, all the tests were different tabs on one spreadsheet, and some people got back to me and said, would it be possible to push out a separate sheet for each student so that they couldn't look at each other's answers? So that's what we're going to go over here. Let me take a look here quickly. I'm going to run through this slide deck and show you the first things we're going to do here. Let's go ahead and take a look at how to implement this exit ticket spreadsheet. So step one, make a copy of the template. So let's see what happens if I click on that and make a copy. It's going to ask me to make a copy, so I'll go ahead and do that. This will be called a copy of the exit ticket formative empty template because there's no data in here yet. So I did step one here, and then the second step here says to open your Google Drive and navigate to the folder where you want to store the student sheets. Well, in my case, I'm going to store it right here in this Google Drive folder. So I would go ahead and copy that. And then the directions say to go and paste this into cell E18 of the Info tab. So if I look here at the Info tab, cell E18, I'm going to just go ahead and do that. I'm going to paste and hit enter. And you'll see down in this cell, this is cell E19, my script is reading this cell and is pulling the actual folder ID. So that's why that step's important. And let's go on to the next phase here. Step two is add a new test with answers to the test tab. So let's come over to my copy. Let's run to the test tab. And I don't have any questions in here yet. Easiest thing for me to do right now, I think, is just to go ahead and grab some questions. Go ahead and copy that and come here. And I think I'll go ahead and paste. So that's those set of questions. I could have grabbed the answers as well because we're going to want to be able to calculate how the students are doing. So there's my first test. I think then it says, then copy these questions over to the user sheet. So, okay, I can just grab my questions again. I think I'll actually grab them from here, grab my questions, copy, come over here to my user sheet and go ahead and paste. And I think what I want to do, well, I can leave that. It's going to have these alternate colors in there. Then my next step is to copy the questions and answers to the test summary sheet. So let's come over here. I have my test. I'm going to need to copy this and this. Go ahead and copy, come over to my test summary, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. And in this case, I am going to hit a command backslash because I want to get rid of the formatting that's in there. I may even do that here. I may want to get rid of the formatting, so command backslash, and then I'm going to have to go ahead and I'm going to add my handle 14. I like that. I like this to be centered, and I liked it to have text wrap. And now that's ready for me to push out. So let's see what the next step is. Next step here is to add a roster of students, including their email addresses. So I'm going to go here, go to my roster, and I'm going to go ahead and pause this right now while I fill this out just to make the video a little shorter. I went ahead and added 5 students. I want to point out right now on my, let's go back here to this. We added the rosters. When the roster is complete, we're going to run the add bulk users script, and we'll go ahead and do that. So let's come here. We've got a roster set up, so now we can run the add bulk user script under the utility menu. The first time you run any of the scripts, you have to authorize. So we're going to authorize. I'm going to authorize as myself. It's these are what the create ticket is doing. Be able to see your Google Drive files and create your spreadsheets. We're going to allow that. Once you authorize, you do have to run the script again. So what I want to do before I run that is I want to come to the users tab, because we're going to watch the sheet names and URLs pop in here. So let's go ahead and add our bulk users. It's reading those 5 people that are on the roster tab, and it's adding a new sheet and giving my sheet name and the URL to that sheet. And it's going to take it a few seconds here as we create 5 students. And while that's happening, you can see that's still finishing. Let's come back over here. They're going to show up on the tab. After they're created, we have to go over to authorize these new sheets that were created in the test summary with the import range function. So let's come back and look. There, it's done. Let's come over to the test summary and notice that basically we have a student 1 and student 2 and student 3 are showing up, but we have an error here. And this error is you need to connect these sheets, and that I have to allow access, and I have to allow access. And this is an import range function where you're having to give access to this student sheet that you just created. You are the owner of the student sheet, but you need to be able to do that. Now that I do that and my reference errors are gone, we can come back here and take a look at these user sheets and see what the user sheets look like that just got created. So if I come here to the users and let me open up one of these sheets, go ahead and open up student 1. And this is what the student sheet looks like. And you can see, I'll point out, that student sheet is owned by me, but it's shared to this person's email address that I put in there. So they're editors of this, even though I'm the owner of it. So I'm going to go in here and go ahead and type an answer. This is 70, this is 170, this is 390, and so forth. And then I'm going to come back and take a look at my test summary. And sure enough, this student has those answers correct. Let me come back and take a look here, and let's make a mistake here and go 3,500, and that's incorrect. So we're going to see that that student got that incorrect. And I'm getting, as I go along here, a calculation of how that student is doing with their scores. We could, just to demonstrate, we could open up a second student. Here's student 2, and again, maybe just to, to show you, go to here to student 1, go ahead and copy student 1 answers, come over here to student 2, go ahead and paste, and then take a look at my test summary and see, sure enough, we are getting some correct answers and incorrect answers showing up on the test summary. So let's assume that step 4, we've gone ahead and done the test summary tab. One of the notes that I've made here is, depending on how many students you add, the test summary sheet will need modification. What I mean by that is this sheet would need to be modified. Right now you can see I am doing a transpose and just pulling across these 5 students. I'm also doing a VLOOKUP to bring in the actual URL of their sheet based on the student name. So we're those formulas are creating these 5 student records, and then I'm actually taking these names and transposing to bring those names across. So if we had more than 5 students, we would have to insert some rows here, and we would have to adjust these scores and move them over to the right. I might need to check my conditional formatting here, because I see that this one is not turning red like it should. Let's see where else we go. Let's see, depending on how many students. And then step 5, take the first test. So when you're completed with your first test, let's say that we were finished with the first test, then what I would do is um, I want to copy everything over to the running summary. So I would go to my utilities and I would run the backup summary. And what that's going to do is pull in all the data. And I actually have some of this hidden here because I'm wanting to just look at the scores, not the questions. But the questions are there. They're hidden in this group. So there's student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here's the student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 answers. And then basically we would want to take the student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think what we could do is we could copy this across. It's going to be equal to that. So we get student 1. I could drag that across. There's my student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's their scores. And you can see here I would want these scores to all show up as percent and bring that back. There might be some adjustments to this. But now that I've actually done that and I've got my student scores coming across here on the total summary, I can now write a new test because my student 1 and 2 have taken their tests, and you can see student 1, student 2, they've taken their tests, they've provided their answers. So the next step would be to come in and write a new test. So what I think I'll do is I'll grab another set of tests. I'll go ahead and grab this test. Say I want to do that one. I'll come to my tests. I'll go ahead and paste, and that would give me my names and answers. And then what I would do is take this, my questions, copy that. I'm going to come over to my user sheet, and again, I'm going to go ahead and paste in my new sets of questions. And again, I could go ahead and leave that. That would be fine. So now that I've done that, I'm ready to. My test summary is going to be changed. My running summary has already collected all the data that I wanted to do. I've put in a new set of tests. And my next step then would be to update the questions. What that's going to do is erase the answers. So let me run this script, update questions, come over to student 2, and you should see student 2 erases his answers and puts in a new set of questions. Same thing here with student 1, erased it. So now the students are ready to take a new test. Let's see where we stand here. Backup summaries, ready for a new test. We did this. We've done the new test and put the questions out there. Rinse and repeat. So that's a summary of how this works. Notice the test summary now should end up having the new questions in there. So that would be our last step in here, is to go ahead and grab our new test and copy that, come over here to my test summary, and this is my test summary, so I'm going to put in the correct questions and answers. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command / and get rid of the formatting of that, and now we're ready to take new questions. So notice the student sheet's already updated, student 1, so what's the first American state? Delaware. Go ahead and put in that answer, and then take a look here, and we can see that that student got that correct. So in summary, we create a roster of students with their email addresses. We run a script to add the bulk users. We have the list of users here. We can open up the sheets and see how they're doing. We then create our tests on this sheet, and this is the sheet we just keep changing. Once we have that test summary, we can see the questions and the answers. We can see how the students are doing, and once that test is done, we run the script backup summary, and it copies all that data over here. So let's go ahead and run that backup summary, and you're going to see we have a new set of tests here. where we have the student answers for student one. That student got one answer correct. So this is how this would work. And um, I hope it's a useful tool for you. Please provide feedback if you find that there's any questions or things that aren't working the way you'd like.